and joining us now is the man who leads them. He is Tulio de Oliveira. He's the director of the Centre for Epidemic Response and Innovation in South Africa. Tulio, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to you and your team for the work that you do on a continual basis and, of course, for raising the flag. We're now more than a month on. What are your observations today in light of the decision that you made and the work that you do?
Okay, thank you for the invitation. Yeah, so our observation now is that we did the right thing. Why we did the right thing is because it was very important for both South Africa and the world to have a very early detection of such variant. As many of the speakers in your program before me highlighted, yeah, it's a very transmissible variant, but through vaccination, previous immunity, and hospital preparation, we are seeing a much lower case fatality ratio and disease severity. And a lot of that is about acting quick and very fast with a sense of urgency to new pathogens, or in our case, a new variant.
Yeah, and it is an incredible response time. I mean, you raised the flag. It was designated a variant of concern within 3 days. Within 48 hours, governments had acted for better or worse. And within 3 weeks, I believe it was in 87 different countries. Just based on what you know already and your experiences of identifying these variants, how long do you think it was circulating before it was found?
Okay, so the first thing, yeah, as you highlighted, the whole response from we finding the first genomes confirmed with hundreds of genomes across dozens of clinics, hundreds of kilometers away in South Africa. And I personally talking with our president Ramaphosa was 36 hours. So is a word able to identify, validate, and communicate to very high level officials. Yeah, as we do analysis, and we have not only done that in South Africa, but we have been aided by all the top scientists in the world there. We believe that the date of origin of the most recent common ancestors, they say, when this variant has generating an individual that fall in a population is around 10 of October of 2021, with intervals between beginning of October and end of October. So was really recent variant. Yeah, we do not know where it come from. It can come from South Africa, can come from anywhere in the world, especially as it emerged in Johannesburg, which is home of the biggest airport in Africa. Yeah. So, but what we know is that in general, this variant is less than 1.5 months old.
Yeah, I'm just interested to get some sense of the timeline in light of the actions that governments took. And I know you were very critical of the decisions to close borders on African nations, including South Africa. And the idea that perhaps it was in a month and a half already in progress tells us something very important. Do you think there's a deterrent effect having been created by that, with people perhaps who in the future may identify variants but be cautious about raising the flag because they're afraid of the response that will take place on their own nation, in your case, on South Africa?
Yes, of course. Just one simple correction. Yeah, when we identified the variant in South Africa, that was 23 of November of this year, we had only a few hundred cases a day in the whole country. So was not a widespread variant in South Africa, and again, could easily be introduced here. In relationship to the travel ban and the reaction, that's very detrimental for not only South Africa, but for global health in general. Yeah. In the case, luckily, these were found in South Africa, that we have a very transparent and honest government. As I talked to our president, he say with half an hour, you're gonna go to a press briefing with our Minister of Health, yeah. And second, we are very used about dealing with epidemics and pandemics. We had 20 years of HIV and TB epidemics, which it also caused a lot of discrimination to South Africa. So I would almost say that we have quite thick skin to deal with that and to be quite activist and fight against the discrimination. But imagine if that emerged in a country that do not have the same transparent government and need the scientists that are very used to deal with epidemics. We could have a global pandemic emerging, and which people knowing that was emerging and not raising the alarm because the repercussions.
Tulio, you raised a very important point, and that's why I asked, because I want people to understand what took place in South Africa and the decision to be open, and the timing was incredibly fast. I also want to ask you something else, because you have been very pointed in your concerns about lack of vaccine access to parts of the world. And the World Health Organization said this week that we can't boost our way out of this pandemic because you've got parts of the world that aren't even getting an access to one vaccine. Do you feel that Africa as a continent has been let down by COVAX, by the World Health Organization, by those that are behind that, providing funding in not getting more access to vaccines, a first dose in that part of the world especially, before other nations get boosted?
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that we're starting to be quite vocal around over a year ago, and not only me, but also Sir Jeremy Farrar, the head of the Wellcome Trust, and Dr. Tedros, the director of the WHO. Not only we have been left behind, but we have been treated extremely unfairly. So, for example, Botswana, which is not a poor country in Africa, have ordered millions of doses of the Moderna vaccine, paying twice the price as available to the developed country, and still today they are waiting for the vaccines. So what we have found is that a lot of time Africa, even when they pay for the vaccines, they get in the back of the queue. And unfortunately, the world will have to learn that if one treats with such a discrimination, and I would say almost like racism, Africa, unfortunately, we're going to derail the whole advance of the pandemic, the global pandemic. And we have been quite vocal that we have a global pandemic, and we need a global response. And the Omicron may not be the most lethal. It's, of course, the most transmissible variant, and may not be the big one, neither the big variant or the big pathogen. And I really think that more than ever, a wake-up call to the world to take very serious the global health security. And in the same way, to not punish countries that identify pathogens and variants, because that will derail the honesty, but to support and have a financial mechanism and a support mechanism that we act global to prevent pandemic. And as we identify new pathogens and variants, we become very clear and very quick. So for example, by our early identification of Omicron, we potentially have saved hundreds of thousands of lives in the US, because you have time to boost your population, you have time to put some response, and you have time to prepare your hospitals. So why should we be punished for that? I think that South Africa and Africa should be rewarded for this transparency.
I think you raise an important point, which is we are one world fighting this pandemic, and we have to work together or we will never get through it appropriately and safely. Tulio, thank you so much for your time. And I can't verify your point about Botswana, but I promise you I'll look into what's going on there in terms of cost of vaccines. Tulio de Oliveira there, so thank you.